Review If, a perfect film for a family outing. If is a 2024 American live-action animated fantasy comedy film written, produced, and directed by John Krasinski. The film features an ensemble cast that includes Cailey Fleming, Ryan Reynolds, Krasinski, Fiona Shaw, Alan Kim, and Liza Colón-Zayas, along with the voices of Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Gossett Jr., and Steve Carell. Its plot follows a young girl and her neighbor, who find themselves able to see imaginary friends. If was theatrically released by Paramount Pictures in the United States on May 17, 2024. The film received mixed reviews from critics, and has grossed $60 million worldwide. 12-year-old Bee moves into her grandmother Margaret's apartment in New York, while her father waits for heart surgery in the same hospital where her mother died of cancer years earlier. One night, Bee goes out to buy a charger for her mother's old camcorder, and sees a strange creature, following it back to her grandmother's building. The next day, she sees the creature again, accompanied by a man. Bee follows them to a nearby house where the man, Cal, retrieves a large furry purple creature named Blue. She also meets the other creature, a butterfly-like being named Blossom, and faints. She awakens in Cal's apartment where she learns that he has been working with imaginary friends, nicknamed Ifs, to place them with new children, as their original children have grown up and forgotten them. Initially reluctant, Bee eventually decides to help Cal. The next day, Cal takes Bee to Memory Lane Retirement Home, a retirement community for Ifs housed underneath a swing in Coney Island. There, he introduces Bee to Lewis, an elderly teddy bear who is the head of the facility. He inspires Bee to use her imagination to redesign the facility, much to the chagrin of Cal. Motivated by a young boy named Benjamin that she met at the hospital, Bee tries to match one of the Ifs with him. She, Cal, and Lewis audition the Ifs, but sadly, he is unable to see any of them. Feeling unmotivated, Bee talks with Lewis on the Coney Island pier. He gives her an idea that maybe Ifs do not need new kids, but rather to reunite with their old ones. Talking with her grandmother, she sees a picture of her as a young dancer, and recognizes Blossom in the background of the picture. Realizing Blossom was her grandmother's If, Bee decides to test Lewis's idea. Playing one of her grandmother's records inspires Margaret to dance, and she remembers Blossom, instilling Bee with hope. Following a tip, Bee, Cal, and Blue find Blue's original kid, Jeremy, now a grown man trying to launch a business. Though their initial attempt fails, Bee and Cal succeed in reminding Jeremy of Blue and reuniting them, giving Jeremy the confidence he needs to nail a presentation. After saying goodbye to Blue, Bee returns home that evening to find a frantic Margaret telling her that something went wrong with her father's operation. Bee rushes upstairs to Cal, who comforts her. When Bee says she doesn't want to say goodbye to her dad, Cal tells her to tell him a story instead. At the hospital, Bee tells her father of how she tried to be a grown-up, but her father kept trying to bring fun into her life, and that she still needs him, which wakes him up. Bee goes to tell her grandmother and realizes that the Ifs have vanished. Bee goes upstairs to thank Cal, but no one answers the door. The landlady hears Bee knocking and reveals that the door opens into an old storage room. After her dad is released from the hospital, Bee and her dad pack up to go back home. While packing her things in the car, Bee finds an old picture she painted of her, her parents, and a clown named Calvin. She suddenly realizes that Cal is her own If, forgotten after the death of her mother. She closes her eyes and remembers, restoring her ability to see Ifs, and reuniting with Cal. After they leave, Margaret asks Blossom if the two of them should go inside, causing Blossom to realize Margaret can see her. Some time later, Cal begins reuniting the Ifs with their original kids, now grown up. Benjamin meets his If, a cartoonish dragon with glasses. Bee and her father return home, where he trips over Keith, his invisible imaginary friend. As of May 20, 2024, If has grossed $36.2 million in the United States and Canada, and $24 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $60.2 million. In the United States and Canada, it was released alongside The Strangers, Chapter 1 and Back to Black, and was originally projected to gross around $40 million from 4,041 theaters in its opening weekend, after making $10.3 million on its first day, including $1.8 million from Thursday night previews. Weekend estimates were lowered to $30 million. It went on to debut to $33.7 million, topping the box office. In France, the film made $3.3 million during its opening weekend in 621 cinemas. After the first viewing, I was delightfully surprised at how strong the story is, since what I expected from the trailer was a fun and colorful children's adventure film. But I was deeply touched by the characters and couldn't stop pondering the plot. Then after the second viewing, I discovered the complex psychology of the story. I saw many little clues that I missed the first time, and they led to a new interpretation of everything, which gave me many wow and aha moments. Also, knowing the twist gave me totally new emotional experience watching the characters' reactions in different scenes. My kids as well as I have thoroughly enjoyed the humor, the creativity, and the wonderful visual. For kids, it's a perfect imaginative story with a huge twist and a happy ending. For adults, it possesses layers exploring the psychology of the character, and it's a bittersweet, yet very satisfying emotional journey. It's an entirely original story, which is rare and precious among big-budget films with an all-star cast. The last thing I want to add from my perspective as an artist is that the character design and animation is top-notch. It's not the established Pixar style, but feels very original while fitting the narrative perfectly.